do some more of this libertarian crap. I will try to play like 2 clips in a row or something just so we can get through this crap. It is difficult. I mean, this is all kind of important. This whole idea. Look, we should be able to agree on just these simple concepts of what kind of thing produces fairness. Yes, people who want to stick their hand in fires and they get burned. Yeah, we really shouldn't have to clean it up all the time. We should have some sort of measures that discourage the behavior maybe, and there's a certain line and you can't go over that line. It can't be preposterously idiotic. You know, we'll help you out when you're in trouble, but if you're going to have 17 kids on welfare, yeah, there's a point where we're just going to shoot you in the fucking head. I mean, this isn't that difficult. We really should be able to take these issues and dissect them and say, what's in the best interest of humanity in general? We kind of know. These people are sickening.
School loans. You know, before school loans, the average kid could get an after-school job and pay for his schooling. That's unheard of anymore. Now they have to borrow huge amounts of money and then have this debt hang over them, many of them, for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Do that. That's what something with intelligence.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'll be back. But just the idea of debt hanging over people, again, this goes back to the fundamental economy. Why shouldn't we have a loaning system where it isn't for-profit banks? Why shouldn't people be able to go to the government and get a fair deal loan, and you pay an interest rate commensurate with how much you're able to, you know, collateralize the loan, and by how, by some profile that is going to dictate what the likelihood of your kind in terms of paying it back. But why is it, I just don't know why you're using this as an example. I mean, student loans are, you know, it's like I said, it hasn't yet been a huge government expense in the sense that if they're paid back, right, the fact that they're not going to get paid back, it's a huge expense. But what in principle is wrong with the idea of people, I don't like people, you know, borrowing money is a stupid idea in my opinion. But you're saying that people shouldn't be able to borrow money at a cheaper interest rate? So you know, I mean, what's the alternative? I guess is the bottom line. And your alternative is have them what? Scrape the barnacles off your fat ass for $3 an hour? Because you won't guarantee them a decent wage. I mean, you just want to exploit them so they can get an education? I mean, I wouldn't let you take care of a goldfish, you scumbag. I mean, really, you're disgusting.
This is, you're on the playing field, I'm on the playing field, you have all the same advantages. There are no advantages. We're even. That's a level playing field. Now, if you exercise and work your butt until you get stronger than me.
Gee, so you're just missing the subject altogether, right? You have no clue how the real world works, right? You actually think the stock market and all the property in this country and all those banker loans that's money that's held by people who work their butt off? You really don't know that most of the wealth in the world is not held by people who worked their butt off? You don't know that fact? It's like 92, 93, 98% of the wealth in the world is not held by the corpse who made it. It's by the people who inherited it. So at least be honest in your argument here. It's not even close like a 50-50 thing. It's not even close to anything close like this work your butt off thing. You think it's a fair fight. Okay, yeah, I'm in the world, Donald Trump's in the world. When I'm 17, I'm working at a $3 an hour job to save money for my college education. 40 hours a week. Donald Trump on his 17th birthday gets $10 million of New York real estate. That was a fair fight. He beat the shit out of me fairly. He fairly destroyed me. I had every chance to be a billionaire, and I blew it. New York real estate in 1970, wink, wink, that's like, you couldn't fail, couldn't possibly fuck it up. Even if you just held on to it, you'd end up a billionaire.
Then guess what? You just tilted the field in your favor. But that's based on your work, and that's fine. See, that's what libertarians are for.
Yeah, well, if that's what you're for, I'm for it too. But frankly, I don't know how you get there from the facts. How does the golden vagina scenario have anything to do with what you just described? How does the huge advantage created by having a father who pays for your Harvard education have anything to do with the guy you said is supposed to be working, 20, 30 hours a week while he's going to school to pay for his school? How do those two things equal to fairness? How is that supposed to be seen as a fair fight? You started off equal. And we know we don't even start off equal because we know that people are disabled, they have lots of other liabilities, and so it isn't a fair fight for natural reasons. And then there's all these unnatural ones. And you're just basically saying, no, that's all, we'll count that as all fair. That's all part of the fair thing, the fact that you didn't fall out of the right vagina. I mean, come on, this is just this is a silly conversation. You have to at least admit these fundamental facts. Facts.
Or we believe that if you work extra hard, you should have the advantage. But
yeah, and what kind of advantage should you have? Even if they did actually work hard. Okay, Bill Gates worked really hard to come up with a plan to snooker IBM into buying an operating system for that they could have paid $200,000 for, and instead we the people paid maybe $1 trillion for it in the end. He worked really hard. I mean, he did the Schwarzenegger thing and everything. But even if he did, even if somebody makes a huge contribution, even if they make a really valuable contribution, you think people are worth $1 billion? You think people are worth $50 million? What is this nonsense? You think their contribution could in any way be worth sending 50 men into a coal mine to die for 10 years? I mean, that's what that money could buy. It could buy them out of that coal mine. They could sit in their living rooms peacefully with their children and watch them grow up instead of dying with that $50 million. They're worth nothing. He's worth everything because he figured out how to snooker IBM. And you think this is rational? I should want to live in this civilization you're going to create for me? This marvelous shithole where you think that's the definition of work? Now, work is picking up your fucking garbage, your smelly, stinking, rotten, disease-infested garbage. That's work. You just got it backwards. Fuck. Creepy bastards. Okay, let's see if he says anything else.
But the progressives believe that if the guy that's working too hard is he's just a greedy pig. He just wants to get more so that he can have.
Yeah, okay. So again, he's working too hard. He's just a greedy pig. What does that have to do with the Hilton girls or whatever? Though you can go down the list of all these spawn of the rich that have done absolutely no work in their entire life, made no decent contribution, just wasted resources, just wasted human labor by wasting the capital that produces it and the capital that the labor produces. They're wasting work, which means people have to work more hours to provide for their fancy lifestyle. And then you cunts will point your finger at some stupid welfare slut and say she's the problem. The slut living on $20,000 or $15,000 a year in welfare money is somehow the egregious criminal, and you won't point your finger at those stupid sluts that are wasting millions, billions, and say anything? But, ooh, can I get some? Can I touch you? You're golden. Oh, you people just make me sick. Dude, you make me sick. You're so stupid.
More. He wants to control people. It takes away all the incentive. That's why condoms.
Oh yeah, all the incentives. So another preposterous exaggeration. If I was working in a job and it was simply tiered that you could have 10 levels of that job, okay, from intermediate or beginner to professional in that job. and we just graduate the salary from $10,000 to start and $100,000 to finish. You're saying you don't have any incentive to climb that ladder? All incentive is destroyed. Is that your bullshit? Oh, that's right, it is bullshit. It's complete and absolute bullshit. You don't need preposterous incentives. You just don't. Only in the lottery do you need some kind of insane incentive to drive people to throw their money in the fucking 1 in 10 billion chance garbage can.
It has never worked anywhere that it's ever been tried.
Oh, here, that's no, stop right there. Anywhere that it's ever been tried. You know, where has it been tried? Where? Well, show me the diagram, and you show me exactly how it wasn't about 7 million other layers of corruption that were built into that system. So again, and if you're going to talk about the Soviet system, again, it's so nuanced, so complicated, that there's no point in going there. And when you compare what the Soviet Union did with the where it started from, it was a fucking fetus, okay, and you know, we almost got beaten by a fetus. So yeah, you know, you better, yeah, there's no point. I don't want to get into the argument. It's not my job to defend the Soviet Union. It's my job to defend the fact that we can have rational incentive economics that doesn't give people rewards for falling out of vaginas. Just like the silly Russian system that gave the same kind of rewards for being a party member or the friend of a party member. Those kind of cheats don't need to be in any system. I'll be back. I will be back.
Did this. That's why the Constitution is a very simple and small document, and that's why the conservatives, when they make a law, they try to make it simple and straight to the point. But then you've got the progressives, and they make a law that's several hundred pages long. And
yeah, right, like the tax code. Yeah, the progressives wrote the tax code. Oh, I'm sure that's the truth.
And inside of it are all kinds of weird stuff that you would never assume was in there.
Yeah, well, you're not going to be able to prove any of this nonsense. You mean the exemption for people sheep farming on their estate? You mean the tree farm exemptions? You mean all that kind of crap? That was all written by progressives? This guy, he doesn't even come close to being anything called honest.
And you wouldn't know it because you can't even see what's in it until after they've passed it. You know?
Yeah, right. Well, like I said, the fact that the Congress is corrupt is a fact. You know, okay? It's not corrupt because of progressives. Okay? It's corrupt because of the nature of the game we're playing, the free market game, where people are selling out because corporations are so eager to, you know, I'll give your nephew a job. You think that's progressives that are doing that? Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. Liar.
What kind of logic is that?
I mean, really, if you have a water problem, do you think that, oh, somebody just shows up and says, build a fire, it'll evaporate the water? Yeah, and it burns your house down.
No, that's not the way it works. Under a libertarian program, I'll tell you how.
Well, let's hear this.
Under libertarians.
Okay, let's hear how libertarians would solve a problem.
We would have companies. You know, we wouldn't set it up. Individuals would set it up. Private people would say, "Hey, there's a need for people to get rid of water when they have a flood in their house." And the guy down the street would say, I can make a company. I've got all these pumps and stuff, and I'm going to get some more, and I'm going to make a company because I see the requirements. And then they would make the company. Voila! Guess what? Problem solved. And
well, yeah, that's like a totally not a real world problem, right? So you just sit there and confine it to some little simplistic, he has magic pumps already made, there's no manufacturing, there's no pollution, there's no issues about ruining somebody else's, you know, like somebody in this town, you know, they can sell out to a cell tower anytime they want. You know, all of a sudden your property's worth nothing because some guy puts a cell tower in his backyard. So yeah, just ignore all the complicated issues. That is why we have all this law and all these regulations. So ignore all that part and just pretend you got a simple solution. little rich man with a bunch of pumps is going to show up and solve the problem. It's not the subject. It's not even close to the subject or even a subject. So this part wasn't worth it. I come back. This was a little bit funny. He just says, where did you see the government come in and drain water? Right? Well, we just had this hurricane thing, and the government just spent $50 billion to rescue all these people from their misery. And I'm not for any of that stuff, but let's just say it the way, let's just admit the fact. All right? Who was getting saved? It wasn't poor people. It wasn't people living in cardboard boxes. It wasn't the homeless. No, it was a bunch of rich people who lost everything. Because they built a house in a circumstance they should never built it in the first place. And somehow we've got to insure their losses. Sounds like a bank too big to fail. Sounds like rich people too big for the government to ignore. Yeah, pretty much. All right, so,
it does.
So if there's anything else.
Just move money around. That's all they really do. Anyhow.
Who moves what around? What?
Come on, now you want to be as smart as you can. You don't want to do the simplest thing. You want to do the best
I'll be
thing.
back. He wants to get to the Bitcoin conversation, which is kind of funny. So anyway, I just made this statement that they're just all these people, all these libertarians are just racketeers. They're just little crooks. Okay, they found a little way to make some jingle without doing any real work by just being a crook. Reselling somebody else's crap. Repackaging some crap and getting some old lady to buy it. And they want the liberty to be even looser and goosier in their interactions with the world, because they like being a criminal and they want it to be legal to be a criminal. Pretty obvious.
Close to the truth. It's just not even close. There is no evidence. He's not bringing a single argument to support his statements. Where is the argument that libertarians are stealing little old ladies' money?
Well, go find that audience. What was whatever his name is, Stefan de Molyneux. He talks about his business. What was his software business? I'm sure it was some sort of ad software, some other kind of tacky bullshit. He was probably making pop-up software, some kind of shit. Some sort of annoying, obnoxious racket. Okay, and we get it in the mail every day. I get phone calls every day. We know your kind. I know, when some broker's calling me, with his spiel, I'm sure he's a libertarian. And we know he's selling shit. And he's selling shit because he can make money selling shit. And he just doesn't care. He knows he's ripping somebody off. He knows it's a rotten deal. He knows he wouldn't sell it to his wife. But he's going to sell it to somebody else. And that's the ethics of you fuckers. None of you do any real work. None of you know what real work is. You're all just game players and manipulators and perverters and distorters. You are the let's fuck with the Google index. Let's find some other angle, some other cheat, some other thing to fuck up. That's all you people do. You make money fucking things up. You're fucking a menace. I'm sure every guy who ever wrote any spam software or any malware or any of that shit, I'm sure that fucker was a libertarian. Yeah, you people suck.
It's probably because, as a libertarian, we don't agree with the government taking people's money and giving it to other people.
Yeah, no, you don't agree with civilization, okay? I mean, there's no way to have civilization any other way. And lots of these programs have nothing to do with taking one person's money away and giving it to another, in the sense that it's just insurance programs like Social Security. And you'll lie about that, because that's the game you're playing. And you want to live in some shithole. Well, again, I don't want to live in some shithole. I will despise you, motherfuckers. You're a goddamn blight on human civilization. You're the worst invention Satan came up with. I mean, you absolute fucking suck. You just want to play games with other people's welfare and take advantage of unfair advantages. Again, answer the question: how much of the resources, how many of the stocks held in the New York Stock Exchange are held by people who went to work and earned the money that bought that stock? What percentage, fuckhead?
So immediately they assume that libertarians want to take other people's money. Well, it's not the other person's money. If you had to take it from somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, if Joe down the street has money and Mary Lou on the other end of the street needs the money, the government is the facilitator. So the government takes...
Yeah. And the only reason why they have to do that, again, is because we have been denied the real price of our labor. And so we have to work 5, 10, 15 times more. We have to do 15 times more work to buy just the basic necessities because of the fact that we have to pay all these taxes to the rich, to the people who never went to work. The asset value they hold is many times over more than the total asset value of the people who have went to work their whole life. And that's the truth.
$1,000 from Joe and gives $500 to Mary Lou and then spends the rest on administrative costs. And
so again, you're just lying some more, right? I mean, Medicare has a really good bureaucracy price tag in terms of the price for service. It's also, being shammed all over the place by crooked libertarian doctors. But regardless, the whole healthcare system, what ruins it? Oh, what ruins it is you've given it all away to private companies that play all these bullshit games. You're not allowed to go buy a pressure bed on eBay for $50. No, but Medicare will buy you a new $5,000 one. Who is that benefiting? Is that progressive policy? No, we know whose policy that is. That's the libertarian shysters policy. So again, all these businesses, you think any of these businesses have any ethics or give a fuck about human civilization? No, these greedy fucks care about their own goddamn, I got to get a new, supersonic Traumatronic for my goddamn BMW. That's all they give a fuck about. So all they know is I got to put some more damn small print on this shit so I can get some more fucking goo-goos for my goddamn BMW. That's all they give a fuck about. You people don't give a fuck about humanity or living in civilized, decent lives. You're just scumbags out for your fucking little selves, and you're trying to get as much as you can doing as little as you can because you fucking suck.
So that somehow is helping Mary Lou and society as a whole because, Joe is...
Well, look, this is a fucking straw man argument anyway. I'm not for welfare, okay? Not at least in the sense that I wouldn't be paying people for having babies. That's for goddamn sure. But again, what would you do with disabled people then? Okay, you take away Social Security, and people are disabled. What are you going to do? You're going to put them back on the street selling pencils and apples. That's what you're going to fucking goddamn do, and you goddamn know it. And so don't pretend you have a solution, because you don't. Your solution is die, fucker. I don't give a damn about you. That's how much you give a fuck. You fucking suck.
Got way too much, and he's wasting it, just leaving it sitting around in a bank or something. Might as well.
Oh, man. It's amazing. And I bet this guy is all going to whine about the Fed and going to whine about fiat currency. And he just sits there and says the magic words, let it sit in a bank. Well, if somebody didn't, if under your stupid gold standard bullshit theory, if people didn't put it in the bank and let it sit in a bank and rot, there wouldn't be any money to loan, you stupid retard. I mean, you contradict your own crap all over the place. And then you expect me to civilly respond to this and have some sort of conversation when you fucking, you can't do that, all right? Grotesque contradictions of your own theory, it just isn't allowable.
Well, be spent, and Mary Lou's so poor she'll spend every penny. So that'll help the economy. This is their mentality.
Well, it's the goddamn truth, though, right? What does the economy more good? People buying basic services like food and, the shopping centers, the little stuff that we all use, the infrastructure we all use, cable even. Isn't use of those things going to be more highly productive than somebody having their kitchen in their mansion, in their summer mansion house that's only used 2 weeks out of the year, marbleized? Which one is going to have more social value as an expenditure? Yeah, I think anybody who has a brain can figure that out.
So Joe works harder. He's like, man, I got to work harder. They're taking so much of my money. So he works harder. Well, they
I mean, this is so obnoxious, this working harder jargon, right? Because that's another insult, another shot at, people. There's lots of people who work very hard in their job, and just because of circumstances, okay, the guy above them never dies, some other thing where they just never get to fill that slot or never get the advancement opportunity. And so they work really hard for 30 years and they're never really appreciated and they never really get the best out of them. And so this idea that working hard is all you have to do is that's another big fat lie. It doesn't have anything to do with the truth. And again, all these people who worked hard, like the Beach Boys, they had a really good record. Yeah, they had one good record. And they could live off it for 100 years. I mean, it's just bullshit.
they're like, hey, wait a minute, Joe, you're making too much money. Let's bump up his rate. You know? He's like, I got to work harder even yet because they bumped up my rate. So
yeah, again, and everybody should get panicked about that, right? We should have a big, huge concern because after $1 million, we had a 70% tax bracket because somehow we figured out that nobody's worth $1 million a year. Yeah. Oh, what a terrible thing to say. What a horrible, awful thing to say, that nobody's contribution is worth $1 million a year. Gee. It's just so stupid. I mean, why don't you do this lottery crap? Why don't we come up with a sport that does this too? Well, let's just make it a huge lottery, right? Forget about trying to make it so everybody can play and survive. Like, why pay any baseball players? Let's pay them no salary and give all the salary to the top 10 players. How would that be? So in the winter, all the baseball players, 90% of them can live in cardboard box on the street for a while because they have no money. And now give them incentive to go out there and fight a little harder next year, won't it? So yeah, I'm sure we'll get some better baseball players. I mean, they might have syphilis or, tuberculosis when they come back, but they'll be better for it, right? Because what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? That's how tuberculosis and syphilis work. They make you stronger as they kill you. Till they kill you.
Uh-oh. Here they come again. Wait a minute. Bump it up again. Bump it up again. At one point.
Yeah, so this is all just such a preposterous lie, right? For the last 40 years, all they've done is cut taxes, right, on the richest people in the world. And he keeps talking like they keep bumping up the tax rate on the rich. No, that's not what's happening, retard.
Wait. Rates were as high as 90%. Can you imagine working hard and the government?
Again, this argument, working hard, owning. There's nobody making $1 million a year who isn't essentially an owner, jackass. That's the fact. So don't pretend this has something to do with working hard. Fuck. Amazing.
Taking 9 out of $10 that you make. That was pre-Reagan. Anyhow, let's continue with this.
Right, millionaires. This is what we made millionaires back in Reagan's day. Millionaire meant something. It was before billionaire became a common word. And again, what was the horrible consequence of that? Oh, that's right. Workers' wages were at the highest point at any point in history. The middle class was growing faster than any, the rich or the poor. Both of those were shrinking and the middle class was expanding. So that's the horror that we lived in because of that evil, nasty, horrible concept. And thank God Ronald Reagan showed up to get the rich richer again, because the rich were actually getting poorer. It was so horrible. The middle class were getting richer, and the rich were getting poorer. And it was a horrible obscenity. And life was just dismal and miserable. And thank God Ronald Reagan showed up and saved the day. God, you people are so fucking delusional.
In fairness, what rational person?
He's going to get to Bitcoin now, so I'll be back when he gets to Bitcoin. I believe this will be golden. Okay, this is the birthright question. So let's see how he answers this simple question. So the question, I'm just saying, how can anybody rationally say birthright is fair?
Iconize.
How is it a birthright? What are we talking about here? We're talking about people wanting freedom as opposed to being told what to do.
Okay, so he just ignored it. So, I mean, you can't do anything with that, right? Inheritance, right? The freedom to a head start. It's just the most important race you could possibly race in, this economic race. And we have these preposterous head starts. So I've used this example before. I'll use it again. If the town square, the town has a little party once a year, and if everybody showed up there and they said, okay, we're gonna have the three-legged race now, and we're going to decide by income. So if you're really rich, then your kid gets to go all the way to the finish line, right? Like 2 feet from the finish line. And if you're really poor, you start off way back here. All right, and then we'll blow the whistle and we'll decide the race. Yeah, I'm sure everybody's gonna. People just be loving that. That's just gonna be. They just sit there and say they'll just sheeple right along and say, "Well, that makes sense. Yeah, I suck. My kid sucks. He fell out of my skanky whore wife's vagina. He's a piece of shit. So yeah, he should be closed right the fuck out." Let's not even have the race. Just give the rich kids the trophies, for fuck's sake, because they're obviously so much better than my kid. My kid obviously deserves to be treated like shit because he isn't rich. I'm not rich, so my kid should be treated like shit. I'm sure all the sheep will fall for that. Fuck.
All right, it's and freedom to do as you wish, as long as you're not hurting anyone else. And the truth is, this is a fact.
Just keeps ignoring it, right? As long as you're not hurting anyone else. Is deception hurting somebody? Is taking advantage of somebody with Alzheimer's hurting somebody? Is anytime you take advantage of somebody's ignorance, is that hurting somebody? We could go forever on this, but I mean, this idea that you have a liberty to take advantage is, and to exploit, and to do it in an environment that's where it's going to lead, right? To know that there's 10,000 people and there's only 1,000 loaves of bread, so we could use that as jobs, right? There's 10,000 people that need a job and there's only 1,000 jobs, and you sit there and say, well, instead of fairly paying, let's just bid, right? And let's see who can bid the highest, right? And in the case of jobs, it would be who will bid the lowest. And you would honestly take advantage of that circumstance, drive people to desperate wages to get a job, let them drive them down all the way to the lowest, desperatest level, and call that just playing the game the way it's supposed to be played. Yeah, you suck.
People who are conservative, libertarian, are much more generous than the progressive.
Oh, fuck. They're just amazing. Amazing. Like when I remember Michael Jackson got on TV once, right? A whole thing and everything, because he gave $10,000 to a charity. $10,000 once, right? That was before he was he was a convicted, he was a proven but not convicted pedophile. But for $10,000, right? I mean, which is a penny, a half a penny to him at that time. A half a penny.
Much more generous with the.
Yeah, well, look, if we went by percentage of income, they're obviously not much more generous. If we went by how much they sacrifice their lifestyle, not much more generous. So again, it's just a lie. It's just propaganda. You want to make it sound like the rich are spending most of their money on the poor civilian citizens of the world. No, it ain't happening, fuckhead.
Their own money. See, this is the thing. Progressives they're just so generous with other people's money. Because most of them either don't have it.
Look, they're generous with the idea that we have to fix problems. You cannot allow children to be raised in, double slums. Yet, you have to pass laws, because apparently you fucking libertarians, right, when you're given the right to create child labor industries, to hire children and kill them with your fucking machines and your fibers and all the rest of this shit, you will. So we have to pass laws preventing it.
Or they're just, they're only willing to give if they can force everybody else to do it. Whereas
Well, again, so what are you griping again? So the progressives are forcing people to give to the military-industrial complex. Oh, I'm sure. So again, you're griping about welfare, which again I'm not for in its current form. But again, what would you do to solve the problem of dysfunction and disability? What would you do with the crack whores? What would your treatment be? More prisons?
Libertarian goes and they see a need and they go over and they try to fill that need.
Bullshit.
Because you know what? They're just trying to do good. They're just focused.
Oh, this is such a crock of shit. No, yeah, they're trying to do good. They're trying to just give the little kids a head start in life by paying them 50 cents a day to die. Yeah, fuck you. You are just such a scumbag.
On the need, and they see the need and they're doing it. But the progressive,
liar.
they have to make a political statement.
You're just such a liar.
Like the rich guy that was trying to increase taxes because he said his taxes are too low. You know, well, why don't you just pay more? There is no law that says you can't give all your money to the federal government.
Right, and sometimes they actually do give their money to charities, right? So no one's obliging anybody not to do that. The point is the problems are always bigger than the government's fixing. Do you think the government has fixed all the problems and then therefore there's no need for charity? Of course there is. Of course there's causes that could use somebody's help. That's not the point. The point is as a civilization, do we take responsibility for the mess we make? Okay, and part of the mess our civilization makes is that it gives people license to have babies they can't take care of. And you're going to blame the baby. You're going to sit there and allow the baby to be abused because you're just going to say it's not my problem. Well, I'm going to say I think it is our social problem, and if we don't take care of it, we don't deserve to exist. We have no justification for existing. You might as well be Stalin, Hitler, Mussolini. You might as well be every evil motherfucker ever invented in the history of mankind if you're going to let a baby live on the street.
Really? Just that you know that as soon as you do, it will stop working. That money will
well, again, we saw the world, you volunteers created. We saw that world, all right? We saw what happened to people. We saw the orphans and the widows living in the shitholes, in the poor camps. We saw the child labor. We saw the blind man selling pencils, sitting out in the cold selling pencils. We saw all of that. So your lie that this problem will be solved by you assholes is just that, a lie. So give me something besides let's go back to the way it was. If that's all you have as an argument, okay, if your policy is just take the fucking limitations, take away the protections against that, take away the safety net, throw them back on the street. If that's your fucking solution, it's a shitty solution. It's not nearly good enough. It certainly isn't going to persuade me that that makes sense somehow. Going backward. So either give me a proposal that makes a little more fucking sense, that's going to actually fix the goddamn problem, or just admit you're a motherfucking cunt.
Become garbage. They will spend $8,000 on a toilet lid for a submarine.
Make permanent.
Oh, I mean, you're going to use that shit as an example? I mean, they were pulling that crap in the 70s. All right, we know that's not how it works out. We just know that that's how it has to be billed. Okay, because the system is a bureaucracy, blah, 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 blah. So they didn't get the full payment for one thing, so they overcharge on the other thing. Durr. And that, again, that's progressives who put that in there. Progressives wanted us to be billed for $500 hammers by some private company building the space shuttle. I don't think the fucking progressives wanted the private company building it in the first place. Shithead. I mean, those bills coming in, they aren't coming in from some government agency. Those bills are coming in from some private Halliburton bullshit company that's ripping us the fuck off. I shall return. I have to play this part just because, again, he just keeps ignoring this fundamental. It's the fundamental issue, right? And the one thing you could fix, the first thing you fix in capitalism, and I almost walk away from the argument altogether. I almost say, go ahead, do whatever the fuck you want. Get rid of this cheat and all the rest can stay. All the other shenanigans you want, you can have. Get rid of this one cheat, the cheat of inheritance. It's the game breaker. It's the one that just breaks the game entirely. There's no fucking horse race if the horses are going to start at different places on the track. So if you don't fix that one, there's just no point in having a conversation. And if you do fix it, it's probably good enough.
Should say this is a cornerstone of our fairness principle is birthright. I mean, it's preposterous.
Not a birthright, dude.
It's not a birthright, dude. Again, I mean, it's just amazing. That's all it is. The whole fucking economy. There's still Rothschild money. A big giant pile of Rothschild money is out there still. Money made in the Napoleonic War. You idiot. There's still slave plantation fortunes in our economy. Idiot. There's still people eating a nice, comfortable dinner around a table eating the never did a day's work in their fucking life and are still living off the labor of the slaves. That's the truth, asshole.
Ignorant. The crudest.
People just want to be free.
People just want to be free to inherit ownership of the economy and call it fair and say they earned it because they fell out of a vagina. I mean, fuck!
Of perspectives.
Let's get to the dumb money. Come on.
We this all fail. So,
anyways, we're going to get to Bitcoin now, I suspect. So, see if there's something coming. Oh, it really is so hard to listen to. All right, so he's you know, like everything else, he's just ignores what I say, right? So I talk about the fact that the Bitcoin is doing these two things. It's playing commodity and it's playing transaction currency. And I'm saying that that's stupid. I've said the reason why the dollar is good is because the dollar isn't worth anything. It's a good transaction currency. It's good for transactions. Okay, it's not supposed to be worth anything. It's supposed to just be good contract paper. It's just supposed to be exchange paper. It's not supposed to have any intrinsic value, and therefore it doesn't become something people hoard. And that's the whole point. Transaction currency and hoarding currency would not be a good thing. And so this is where I made the point about the hoarding, and here's the response.
Dollar be speculated. Can speculators speculate with the dollar? Of course.
Well, they can't in some respects, just because the liabilities on the dollar, the bonds, that's how people buy American currency. They don't buy dollar bills. They buy bonds, okay? Because if you bought dollar bills themselves, you're likely to lose money, because the whole point of a transaction currency is not that it gets more valuable, but that it gets less value a little bit every year, so that keeps it from being hoarded. Again, you just don't understand the difference between a commodity, okay, that like gold, that can be used both for transactions and as an asset, and a transaction currency. The dollar is perfectly functional as a transaction currency. It has no liabilities as a transaction currency. Now, the federal government has printed a bunch of liabilities on the dollars called bonds. That's garbage.
Is there currency trading companies that just trade currencies, including the dollar? Of course.
Right, and it affects the value of the dollar in little teeny micro ways, okay? The dollar doesn't lose half its value every day. Very rarely. Obviously, to commodity prices, if there's a drought, then corn prices are going to go up, and so relative to corn, the dollar can lose 20% of its value in a week. Gold prices go up and down, the dollar can lose value relative to gold. But the point is that the basic structure of the dollar, its functional structure, is hard to fuck with, because nobody wants to own dollar bills.
Does the value of the dollar go up and down on a regular basis? Of course. So if all those things are...
He just keeps saying it like it's a truth. No, that's not of course. And of course it would go up and down even more. There would be a whole huge fluctuation if all of a sudden some billionaire could go out and just buy a bunch of dollar bills and change the value of the dollar. But he can't structurally do that because there's replacements and buffers in the mechanism, in the system, that'll prevent that. So again, you're pretending that there's something, that the dollar is fundamentally broken, and the fact is the dollar is not fundamentally broken. What's broken is the banking system, okay, and the tax and borrow. I mean, the borrow and spend philosophy you libertarians have idolized. The Reaganomics. Reaganomics is what's broken the economy. Not paying your bills has broken the economy.
True. Then what are you arguing? You're arguing that we are stuck with this currency because that's the one that you choose. It's got all the same.
I don't choose it. I'm just saying that there's lots of ways to transfer money. Okay, now cash isn't terribly convenient in an electronic world, so now we have to make transfers, through PayPal, and it'd be nice to have some open source, okay, secure way to make transfers. I'd be all for it if somebody wants to make one where they're not making a commodity, again, where they're not making a pyramid scheme to make money off of it. Some sort of public library style electronic banking transfer system. Some kind of system where, I have a bank account and I transfer my money from my bank account to his bank account. That is something we should have. The government should force it. It should exist right now. It would cost micro pennies per transfer. And the only reason why it doesn't exist is because the banks have an incentive to keep ripping us off. And that's the only reason why it doesn't exist. And this system could have been like that. Bitcoin could possibly create a system like that. But as long as we have to hold it, all right, that the fact that I have to own Bitcoins to use Bitcoins is the problem with Bitcoin. Because first I have to buy them. That means there has to be a credit card transaction or some other. I have to get my cash to the Bitcoin creator. All right, and that's going to cost me. Somebody's going to have to pay the transfer fee, just like the credit card. And then when the retailer takes the Bitcoin, they're going to have to pay the same fee to get rid of it again, to turn it back into something they can actually use in the real world called cash. So your Bitcoin has the same obstacles built into it, in that we still can't get money from bank A electronically to bank B electronically for what it really costs to do that. And so that's the fix to this problem. We don't need Bitcoin if we can make efficient bank transfers. If we can have a secure bank account and make a transaction to a secure bank account. If I have a bank account for 20 years, I have money in my bank account, there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to electronically transfer money to another bank. There's no reason except the fact that the banks don't want to take that money stream away. They want to keep making money doing something that costs them nothing. And so that's another place where we need regulation, where we need the government to step in and say, no, you banks have to create these pipes so we, the consumers, aren't getting ripped off. You're just too stupid. I mean, again, commodity transaction. Commodity transact, two different things. The barter paper is supposed to be nothing, not something of value, something of no value.
Issue that you're talking about right now.
Who wants to take advantage of Bitcoin time? And
I'll be back. And not much time. I made the point about the fluctuating value and how retailers aren't going to take Bitcoin until it has a stable price.
Value according to what? See, this is the problem. This is the concern.
Half the value based on what they've sold it, what they took it as. They took it at $500 a Bitcoin. They accepted it from somebody at the value of $500, and now when they try to get rid of the damn Bitcoins, they're only worth $300. There. I mean, it wasn't that complex an equation. I mean, bullshit. You don't know what that means? You can't understand the simple fucking diagram I drew for you there? I mean, it wasn't that complicated. A retailer isn't going to want to play with money it can't depend on, especially for any kind of big contracts. And so unless it can reliably get the price for the Bitcoin, why would it take it? This is stupid. I mean, your business can be ruined on a Bitcoin transaction. Why would you make yourself vulnerable to having your business destroyed because you sat there and accepted a Bitcoin instead of a credit card or some other payment? And again, the point is, just remember, the only way Bitcoin could possibly work is that you would have to keep them in surplus. You make your transaction, pay your fee,